Hey there, I'm Sage Crane and you're watching D&D Daily, where we release new D&D content every day. If you're looking for D&D inspiration and information, then you're in the right spot, because today we're talking about the Noble Necromancer, a man with a utopian plan. The basic mechanics of playing the Noble Necromancer are really simple. Choose the Wizard class and the School of Necromancy subclass. Your race, your background, all of that is open to whatever you feel like. Growing up in the slums, the Noble Necromancer felt there has to be a better way than this. Why make people work in the mud when we have magic that can do all the day-to-day work for us? The Noble Necromancer would pick books out of the trash and taught himself to read. Showing sharp intelligence and a determination to excel, the Noble Necromancer clawed his way from the slums to middle society and began studying magic in earnest. Specifically, the Noble Necromancer was looking for magical servants that could do all the work that the people around him were doing now. And this is what led him to necromancy. And this is the time where he took his first steps into becoming a necromancer. While laying in bed at night, the necromancer would often tell himself, I will build a world where construction, agriculture, military, sanitation, and so much more will be handled by the dead, so the living can focus on art, love, and development. You can clearly tell that the Noble Necromancer is a visionary. He's someone who looks towards the future and wants to build a better one for those around him. He tries and treats the undead and the living with respect. He would only try and raise corpses that he believed people wouldn't be missing. So, for example, if your mom died, he wouldn't want to raise it, and now you see your mom walking around. He would be sensitive to those types of things. He's also truly out to make the world a better place. He may be a bit naive and may be approaching it in a way that many might disagree with, but he is earnest. He is trying to make the world a better place. Now, he struggles with communication. He has a hard time getting across his ideals, and so people often look at him like he's naive or evil because of the way he's going about it. In combat, the Noble Necromancer would play defensively and orchestrate his undead to attack and defend. He would attempt to control the battlefield. He would use skeletons to attack and zombies to tie up enemies with grapples. Out of combat, you're the party's utility, using ritual spells just like a normal wizard, but also using your minions as bait, grunt workers, distractions, and so on. During the Noble Necromancer's downtime, he would constantly be trying to show the world and his party how useful it is to have zombie servants. So he would try and convince people to let his minions help in any way they can. You need some grain hauled, he would be trying to convince them to let his zombies haul that for them. And it's basically he's trying to spread the word of his ideal in the best way he can, which is through action, because his charisma is low and he has a difficult time explaining himself. Knowledge is power, and like any wizard worth their salt, the Noble Necromancer would constantly be trying to read spellbooks and trying to learn more and more magical information. The key mechanics of playing the Noble Necromancer are fairly simple. Just be a necromancer and use Animate Dead to the best of your ability. However, some nuance comes into play because you're using your level 3 spells and probably above, more than likely to cast Animate Dead and to maintain your zombies, which means you're going to have far fewer spell slots than most wizards would. And your level 1 spells are likely going to be used for shield and mage armor, your defensive options. But there's that sweet spot between level 3 and above, where it's Animate Dead, and level 1, where it's shield and mage armor. You have level 2 spells. Level 2 spells are going to be your really versatile, many-use spells, and you're going to probably choose a lot more level 2 spells than most wizards would. A standout to me is invisibility. You can use invisibility better than most mages can, because while you're invisible, you can still give orders to your zombies, so you can still have a big influence while being very safe. Another standout to me is Hold Person, because it has a lot of synergy with your minions. You hold the person still, all your minions have advantage on their attacks and do criticals. Web is just a strong fight-winning level 2 spell that is an AoE, debuff. It's really good. Other standout options are Misty Step for its utility and Mirror Image for another powerful defensive option where you still have your action to use, an alternative to invisibility if you will. The Noble Necromancer's weaknesses are that he is a squishy wizard. He really needs to put a lot of his resources into defending himself because otherwise he would die quite quickly. And kind of what I touched on before is that the Noble Necromancer has limited spell slots. He's going to be using many of those spell slots to maintain Animate Dead, and so he just will not have the same level of in-the-moment spell casting that most wizards do. When it comes to running the Noble Necromancer as an NPC, I would focus less on him as a person and more on the city he built. I would play him as if he succeeded in his goal, and that city that he wanted to build exists. And maybe he's dead, or maybe he's using clones to continue on, but what would that city look like? The people would not have to pay taxes, because their tax would be giving their body to the government at the end of their life. The necromancers would be considered a noble trade, and there would be schools dedicated to the art of necromancy, and many of them would be hired into the government. Entrepreneurs would rent their workforce from the government, so how many zombies do you need today? They'd go spend a certain amount of money. The necromancers would give the orders to the zombies to listen to the entrepreneur for a certain amount of time, so long as the orders didn't break any laws. And at the end of that tenure, the zombies would go back to have Animate Dead recast on them. It also creates a bunch of interesting land situations. What if people didn't want to pay their tax? How would they be treated in this society? What if people considered the zombies morally wrong and were trying to change this city? We're going to talk more about this potential city when we are doing our series on interesting settings in D&D, which is another series we're going to release here on D&D Daily, so keep an eye out for that. How would you use the Noble Necromancer in one of your games? What would you do to make them better? Let us know in the comments below. You can also tell us what you thought of this episode by either hitting the thumbs up or thumbs down button. Either way, lets us know what kind of content you're looking for. And on the next episode of D&D Flavor Builds, we're going to be talking about the sea shanty singing, sword swinging pirate bard. Hit the subscribe button because you're not going to want to miss it. Thanks for watching.